My dad is one of the executives at a media tech company. Before COVID, I, 16, was always there after school. It's a pretty big building. Some of the offices there are closed because people are working from home, so it's not so many people hanging in the lobby like before. My mom dropped me off there because my dad was in a meeting and we were gonna go eat lunch after. I'm there waiting in the lobby with my backpack and this guy from across keeps looking at me. He's there with some other people. The lobby is big, so there are always others that are there on lunch break. Then he comes to me trying to be friendly at first, then he asks if I work in the building. It's obvious I don't work there, so don't know why he asked. Everyone else is in suits with their security pass sticking out. I told him I'm waiting for someone. He says only employees are allowed in the lobby because of COVID. It's obviously crap. They haven't made any rules like that. But he wouldn't leave me alone. The security guy that was at the front even told him so when he tried to ask him to escort me out. He looked annoyed by then and told me that lots of homeless people have come in lying about that too, so to just leave already. Security at the desk told him I'm allowed to be there. It was back and forth for like almost 10 minutes. I'm already pissed. So told him to just back off already. When I told him who my dad was, he laughed like he didn't believe me. My dad texted me then that he's outside, so all I said was whatever. In the car, my dad saw I was mad, and after I told him what happened, he was asking me do I remember the guy's name, if he said which department he's from, what he was wearing. I just told him what I remember. He ended up finding out who he was and called up his supervisor. They let the guy go. My dad says the guy should have known better than to lie or cause a scene like that in their building. He told me to drop it. I just didn't think they were gonna that extreme with it. My dad was really mad about it. I keep thinking about it now. If I shouldn't have said anything at all. He was being an idiot, yeah, and I was mad. Does it make me an idiot that I helped get him fired though? Not the idiot. You didn't get him fired. He got himself fired. He was abrasive, ignored the security guard's assurance that you were supposed to be there, lied about company policy, and essentially called you a liar by laughing when you finally dropped your dad's name. I am assuming you tried to avoid that because it totally feels like saying, don't you know who I am? It was not your call and it wasn't your fault. That he got canned instead of written up suggests that he may have already been on thin ice. Not the idiot. You didn't choose to get him fired, you merely stated facts first to the harassing guy and then to your dad. The guy made a scene and it pissed your dad off. The guy was an idiot. I don't know if firing him was necessary, but I don't blame your dad for making that decision. Catching homeless people was not his job, it was the job of security. They said he was out of line. My guess is that he had a power trip, directed it at you, and was surprised by the consequences. If that's the case, the company is better off without him. Not the idiot. You're 16 years old. While it is awesome that you think you are responsible for getting this dude fired, he did it to himself. He had no idea who you were. You could have been the son of an important client, or you could have been the son of an executive. In either case, it was not his responsibility to enforce rules, existent or not, in the lobby. That's what the security guard is for. Especially given he was told by security that you were allowed to be there. I left my girlfriend's apartment to pick up my nephew who was staying for the night and to pick up some food. Coming back, as I'm driving in, I make a wrong turn because it's a new place, so I took the long way to her unit. I'm definitely driving a bit slower than usual traffic because everything is still new to me, plus there are a bunch of speed bumps and my car is lower. A cop followed me as soon as I turned in. Once I parked, I texted my girlfriend that a cop was following me. I get her stuff when he cuts the spotlight on me and turns on his lights. By this time we're already out of the car. He walks up to me and asks me what I'm doing. In general, my philosophy is to say very little to police when I'm approached in an official capacity. I've had some run-ins before and my nephew has priors. I responded matter-of-factly, nothing really, you? I thought it was a friendly conversation. That's my normal response to anyone asking me that question. He tells me he's the one that asks the questions, not me. Okay. I'm also the one that doesn't answer questions, so if we want to go that route. He asks me why I went the wrong way and why was I driving so slow. I just say that I don't agree with the premise and that neither one of those things are crime. He says, "What are you, a sovereign citizen? Give me your ID." By this time, he's been shining his flashlight inside my car looking for crap. My girlfriend is out front and due to his lights, 2 sets of neighbors are also out front. I state that again, I didn't commit a crime and since this isn't a stop and ID state, I don't have to ID myself. I wasn't pulled over, I was approached after I was already parked. He says he got a call that someone who fit my description and matched my car was driving around the parking lot looking inside of cars. There was a recent car theft in that lot. He literally started following me the second I pulled in, which was 2 minutes ago, so I know that's crap. My girlfriend speaks up to say something, and I tell her I've got this. He then turns to my nephew and demands ID. I tell him that he's a minor and I don't give him permission to speak to him. I say that let's not act like he didn't run my plates, so we both know he knows who I am, and unless I'm being detained, I'm leaving. I walk inside and make sure they both follow me. Nothing else happens. She's really upset that I would speak to the police in that manner, especially considering they have had some minor crime recently. I was never rude, I just don't want to answer a bunch of questions. She's also highly embarrassed that I would do this in front of her neighbors. Do what? I'm not the one that turned the discussion sideways, and I'm not the one that started lying. Also, we're different than my girlfriend and her apartment complex. That may have something to do with how I've experienced police encounters versus how she has. I mean, I get your point, but also you could have just answered I'm heading to my girlfriend's for dinner. She lives here. Your girlfriend was already coming outside and could corroborate that, and everything would be over within a few seconds. Did you go the wrong way and slower than normal? Yes. Does that sometimes look suspicious, especially an area that has experienced break-ins? Also yes. But you have just said, she just moved here and I'm still not familiar with how to get here. I'm sure I'll get downvoted for this, but oh well. You are the idiot, it honestly sounds like you were being a smart for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Something that could have been cleared up very easily with civil conversation was made something it didn't have to be, because you were trying to act like Billy Big Balls. People are obviously singling out the fact that you're different as meaning you aren't at fault here, but you were basically acting like an idiot from start to finish by creating further confrontation there didn't need to be. It sounds like you already feel justified in the behavior, so doubt you'll take this on board, but with saying. Not the idiot, but I feel it didn't start well when you said you. At the end of your first sentence, you knew full well he wasn't asking as a friend, so your response comes across as sarcastic and not respecting his authority. Sounds like the remainder of the convo comes from him trying to impress upon you his superior position, and you refuse to acknowledge it. He went well past the line trying to win, and his stopping you in the first place seems like little more than profiling, so not the idiot. Last, in October, a guy showed up at my friend's house, claiming he was the father of friend 8-year-old and that he got friend's wife pregnant in an affair, but ran off and broke contact. Hell broke loose on the guy first, but seeing how the wife was acting suspicious, he confronted her where she admitted to the cheating, but claimed the child was my friend's. Friend got a paternity test done and found out he is not the father. He was hurt and depressed. He left his house and stayed at a room away to think about the situation. His wife reached out to all our common friends, and they all asked him to forgive the wife and move on. Friend was feeling complicated. His thoughts kept revolving around the 8-year-old. The divorce law in my area says that infidelity is grounds for divorce, but it is the father's responsibility to make sure his kids are secure financially. But if the father can prove that the wife committed paternity fraud, he gets out easy. Any lawyer could take this case and win. Due to his conflicting feelings, he had a massive breakdown. The wife and child also showed up to his place and caused a scene, asking for forgiveness and for daddy to come back. I usually stayed and listened to what he was feeling and saying, not giving any of my input till after the last time wife and child showed up. He said he wanted to know what to do. I tried to avoid adding my answer in any way and said there are no right answers and that he should do what makes him happy and mentally healthy. He kept on pressing me for a more direct answer and well, seeing how desperate he was for an answer, I told him that I would leave my wife in such a case without regret. She can manage her child on her own. I would do that because I know how cold I can get. Friend is my polar opposite, he literally does not hurt a fly. But this was just a hypothetical scenario, and that the one experiencing this case in real life should look for his answer, not my hypothetical response. This happened in April this year. Mid-July, my friend finally divorced his wife and she moved out. He made a Facebook post thanking me for giving him advice that made him resolve to leave fake happiness for his own selfish happiness. The ex-wife called me a monster for destroying their happiness. Most of our friends and my wife are livid because they said I broke up their marriage. Wife is angry because my advice caused him to abandon his, not his, child. That the child has lost the person they knew as their father. I am pretty sure I was clear about what I said and that it was not advice, but if he followed that part, then I am not blaming him for what he did. Friends and wife still think I am the idiot because there could have been better ways to handle the situation. So, am I the idiot? If your friend was pressing for a more direct answer and took your hypothetical as the actual advice, then I'd chalk it up to him looking for one person to give him permission to do what he already wanted to deep down. If everyone in his life is pressuring him to forgive, and that's not what he wants to do, of course, he's going to feel better about his decision if there's even one person that he thinks is validating how he feels. That's what it sounded like to me, anyway. Not the idiot. Wow, you are absolutely not the idiot. I feel bad for the child, but your friend can't be held responsible for that when his fatherhood was based on such a blatant lie. The mom needs to see child support from the deadbeat dad, and if eventually, your friend wants to see his son and the feeling is reciprocated, then fine, but what his wife did was unconscionable. She doesn't get to lie about something so big and then lash out at him for reacting in an emotionally healthy way. Not the idiot, wife screws and is a clear idiot. The lies, cheating, and trying to use his friends and the child to manipulate him is awful. And bio dad for skipping town, did he just show up to drop that bomb and ditch, or is he actually stepping up? The wife and anyone who defends her needs some common sense lapped into them. It would have been great if he stayed in the child's life as he was the only one she knew, but wife made this mess. Plus from his ex's manipulation, I'm wondering if she would have kept boundaries if he stayed in parented. I am just gonna get straight into it. This is about a group of friends, 5 people, and one friend expecting us to provide her with free childcare. We are all in our mid and 20s. Some of us go to university and work part-time, others have finished their education and work. A friend of said friend group, I will call her Lily here, got pregnant about 3 years ago. She was separated from the child's father when she found out she was pregnant, and it was clear to all of us, Lily included, that he would be a deadbeat should Lily decide to keep the pregnancy going and get the baby. Since we are all pretty close, she discussed this with us. We are all women, by the way. All 4 of us said that the decision was solely Lily's, and we understand her situation screws, but also all 4 of us were leaning towards an abortion with the following reasons. Lily had no stable income at that time, her parents were supporting her financially, and adding the burden of a child to that seemed unfair. The father would be a deadbeat, meaning she was going to be on her own with this kid. Lily loves her freedom, she has very big fear of missing out. As a single mother in a group of 5 single young women, there would be many things she would have to miss out on. Well, she still decided to keep the pregnancy and gave birth to her baby little over 2 years ago. Since then she has been miserable, but not only her. Our friendship is suffering and we are getting tired of her. The father is a deadbeat as expected, he has no contact with Lily. She expects this baby to be all of ours responsibility. She expects to drop the kid on one of us whenever she wants or needs to, she expects us to rotate with missing out on events, so she can take part in some of them, as if this kid was a common responsibility to all 5 of us, and not just her. We specifically don't have kids because we want to live our lives and not take care of a child. Lily gets frustrated with us over this. She thinks as friends we should take on this responsibility together. We think she was the one who decided to have this child, it was her decision and is her responsibility. So, are we the idiots for not taking care of Lily's child equally? Unfortunately, Lily is overwhelmed and probably lonely, carrying all the responsibilities of a toddler is no joke, she likely needs mom friends who can alternate babysitting with her. And understand and can commiserate the burden of parenthood. But y'all are rent parents, it's normal when people shift from young free and single to not so much, to drift from friendship groups that no longer share many commonalities. Beyond that, not your circus, etc. Not the idiot. Not the idiot. If she really cannot take care of the child she should have given it up for adoption. You are not her childcare providers. I am actually surprised you are still friends since she is trying to pawn her kid onto you. It will not get any better, especially when you all become financially stable and can take nice vacations because you don't have to pay for childcare. I say take the unpopular route and sit her down, make it clear, or she may need to find a mother's friend group. Not the idiot, what in the entitled hell is that woman thinking? In what way is taking care of her child anyone else's responsibility? You don't get to have a kid and also be able to party your way through your 20s, pawning the kid off on your friends because you don't want to miss out. Having a kid means a load of responsibilities specific to having a kid. That's the deal. My wife and I have a kid, that means there are times we don't do stuff because babies aren't pets or toys, they're people that have needs that supersede our wants. My male, 37, son, 9 years old, has coronary heart disease. We knew my son had a problem since my ex-wife was pregnant with him. He had an enormous procedure on his heart when he was 10 days old. We had a huge responsibility of making sure he was recovering, and the only people we talked to at the time were surgeons, pediatricians, and cardiologists. I didn't get to spend much time with him. Missed a lot of great moments together because of his condition, but all that didn't matter. I just wanted him to grow up and be healthy just like any other normal kid. He's 9 years old. Visits the doctor every week and we're still dealing with issues. Every once in a while there seems to be an issue coming up unexpectedly. Now we're dealing with arrhythmia and it's terrifying because I really don't know where this is going. I have saved up money for him in case of an emergency. My current wife, who I met in 2018, has been supportive even though she complains her salary isn't enough. She works at a salon. Unfortunately, my father-in-law hasn't been doing well. He too has a chronic condition and it got worse lately. My wife's family started contacting us about a week ago wanting us to help them with money for his surgery. My wife was the one who talked to her brother, then she came to tell me that we needed to pay money to help her family. Thing is, my salary and hers barely cover for our expenses and daily needs. She brought up the money I have saved up for my son and suggested we use some of it to help her family. She got mad when I said the money wasn't going anywhere and that my son is sick too and he's a priority to me. And should be to her as well. She said she was pressured by her brother who kept calling her and asking her to pay. I told her that it wasn't my problem, it's my responsibility as a parent to worry about what the future might hold for my son and be prepared. She got upset. She took it as in I don't care about her dad and how he's the only parent she has left. Trust me, I understand completely, but my son is my priority. He's literally dependent on me and I need to make sure I'm there for him. I've had a lot of people close the door in my face when I was begging for money to pay for my son's hospital stays, and I can't let this happen again. She said that I worry too much and need therapy to deal with my issues. But I told her to stop asking because it was final. She wants to invite her brother to come to talk to me and explain the situation, but if he shows up I let him know that I'm not obligated to pay since I already deal with my own son's issues that keep coming up till now. I understand that my wife's family is my family and they're decent folks and don't deserve this, but my son is my priority. Not the idiot. Reality is harsh, but your son needs you. The father-in-law seems to have more people around him to help than you do for your son. Not the idiot as long as you were not demeaning or not actively antagonistic to your in-laws. Side note. If it is an option financially or practically for you, maybe do consider therapy. You sound like you have been through a lot: divorce, sick son, being or feeling alone, etc. Therapy isn't a bad thing and may be able to help. Where do you guys live that requires you to pay prior to receiving medical procedures? Because if you're in the United States, even though our healthcare system is garbage, her dad should be able to get whatever health procedures he needs, then get billed after. Like it makes sense that you are saving for your son because you are responsible for those costs. I would do anything for my child's health, but I wouldn't expect my children to sacrifice their day-to-day well-being for me, like your wife's family. Not the idiot.